Io.
So you only wear it after they win, huh?
No, I wear it on Michigan week.
Only after they win. Yeah, he's just not wearing it.
I've worn it 11 times. No, I haven't actually.
I was gonna say that's 3 years you worn it. You might not want to wear it this week.
No, I did not wear it last year. There was no video evidence of me wearing Ohio State gear. I think one of the first episodes I wore one of my polos, but
yeah, not this particular outfit. There's other times where you
didn't have my Beat Michigan button.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, tonight we've the playoff picture has become more clear, especially since the SEC decided to cannibalize itself this past weekend. Yeah, I know.
You added a couple more questions.
Even more than they had already.
They already had. And then, of course, it's Rivalry Week, so we're going to do a preview of Rivalry Week. So grab a drink and join tonight's tailgate. Okay. Hello.
What up? We got an awesome week. It's Thanksgiving. I'm going to eat myself silly.
We're going to see a very boring egg bowl, probably.
And then we got Rivalry Week.
Yeah, I don't really consider Egg Bowl Rivalry Week. I know Mississippi, the entire state of Mississippi is mad at us for saying that, but
just imagine if
bowl or something. Better.
It is what it is.
What if Mississippi State wins it? Then I feel like everybody would be like, holy crap, did you watch the game?
That would be amazing.
I would love it.
Yeah, that'd be just great.
Everybody would hate Lane Kiffin already more than they do.
That's also true. Yeah, there's that's exactly right. Let's do a quick recap of this past weekend because we had some interesting upsets. It's some interesting outcomes. Luke, do you want to start with yours?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to remember what my game of the week was last year.
Yeah, see, I think if you just look down real quick, you'll find out.
Oh, gotcha. South Carolina?
You give them way too much credit.
South Carolina.
Yes. So Ohio State, Indiana. Ohio State won.
By a lot.
So excited. I'm so happy.
No, I mean, it honestly was not as good of a game as I thought it was going to be. I expected there to be a little bit more. The first quarter of the game, it was a very, very close game. Scary close. Like it was one of those like, oh my gosh, is this actually going to happen? Is this actually going to turn into a slugfest? Indiana, I mean, they kind of shot themselves in the foot a couple of different times. Obviously, there was the mishandled punt that put Ohio State at the I think it was like the 10-yard line, maybe even inside the 10, which led to a score. And then Caleb Downs had the Ohio State's first punt return for a touchdown since 2014. That's actually funny enough. That's one of the things, like if you listen to enough Ohio State podcasts, that's one of like the points of contention about how bad our special teams has been, because we've not had, with the elite talent that we have, had not had a punt return for a touchdown in 10 years.
So question.
Hold on 1 second. The last team that we did it against was Indiana.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
So question. Did Caleb Downs ever do that for Alabama? I don't think so.
I'm not an Alabama fan.
I don't think so. I don't think so, because I seem to remember Nick Saban talking a little smack before the game, saying that Caleb Downs was always way more prepared for games when he was at Alabama than when he's at OSU. So, Nick Saban, I think
the Nick Saban hate for Ohio State, it's really weird to me.
Yeah, you guys didn't play each other very often.
Yeah, it is what it is. I think that he's kind of hopped on that. Everybody pile on Ohio State because they've got a really talented roster and they spent money, and the $20 million roster. I mean, because he even had that comment that was, oh yeah, paying players, you got to buy the right ones though, so
yeah, he's been doing it for 15 years, 16 years. So
it is what it is. I mean, again, that's not something that Nick Saban's not somebody that I'm really listening. It's like if Pat McAfee was saying something, it's like, he's funny. I like listening to him, but if he's going to dog your team, like, who really cares?
Well, I mean, like, my thing is, like, I'm like, if you're going to go after a team because they bought a roster, go after the crappy Ole Miss that keeps on
right.
having some weird, inconsistent years. And it's probably just because of Lane Kiffin. The Lane train is just known for just running out of gas right around now.
Well, and the people who and I don't know if we'll get into this tonight, but the people who were the biggest haters on Ohio State buying their roster was Michigan, who is now reportedly spending $10.5 million on a quarterback, which is half. I mean, again, like, if you want to get into the logistics, it's half of what Ohio State spent, but it's over 4 years, so it's
on one guy.
But it's on one guy, so 10%.
They don't have a quarterback, so they bought a quarterback.
Yeah.
Right, but who's he going to throw to?
Wisely, I guess.
Who's he going to throw to?
CBs.
Find out.
Yeah,
put their own CBs on the field as receivers.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but so all that to say, Ohio State beat Indiana pretty soundly. We got off on a little rabbit hole.
I don't think it was that. I think it's because of special teams, but I don't think it's a blowout as some people are making it seem. If you really go back to the highlights, don't get me wrong, Ohio State definitely controlled that game. But if it wasn't for those kind of Ohio State special teams and Indiana just kind of making those faults, the game was a whole lot closer than it.
So let's and I've heard this point and I've seen this point a lot. Yeah. I would disagree to a little bit. So you have two special teams, obviously, like, those were big pivotal moments, special, a fumble punt, a punt return. Those are big, momentum shifts. However, every time Ohio State had the ball after that first quarter, they just slowly, methodically ran it down took it down the field. Indiana could not stop them. And Ohio State's defense was just all over Indiana.
Well, I feel like Ohio State's defensive line definitely won the game. I don't think it was necessarily Ohio State.
But what I'm saying is yes, it was on special teams, but that's assuming that Ohio State's not going to get a touchdown after that. And the last time I checked, there's 3 phases of the game. So doing it in special teams.
I'm not saying you're not wrong. I'm not saying, again, you're not wrong.
Listen, Dennis, I'm trying to argue with you. You like to argue. I'm arguing with
correctly, is what I'm trying to say.
I'm not arguing correctly.
If they didn't muff the punt, would they have scored? Then we're just playing the what ifs of that game. If you really want to go down that route, then it just keeps going. And Indiana would get that momentum. They could have kept going.
Yeah, and what if Ohio State's bus blew up on the way to the game, and they didn't have a team? We can what if all day long. It's not.
What I'm saying is, you're going.
What if Patrick Mahomes came in and started playing for one of the teams?
Using.
Listen, no,
you're using the bus blowing up. I didn't go that far.
I think this game. I think this game made Indiana look a lot worse than people are admitting.
Yes.
You only had 153 yards for a supposedly vaunted offense that we heard about up until that game. And what was proven, arguably, was exactly what SEC fans have been saying all week, which was Indiana has played nobody, and when they have to play somebody, they're not going to look good. Mm-hmm. And it was proven this past Saturday they didn't look good. You put 153 yards of total offense on a team that I'm not and again, I'm Ohio State has a great defense. I'm not saying that they don't. It's the fact that you were averaging, what was it, 300 or 400 yards a game?
400 yards a game.
Beforehand, it's such a drastic drop off. And it wasn't that you lacked production. It was literally you just got shut down because Ohio State had answers at every position.
No, don't get me wrong. I agree with that. And I even said before, hey, it's the talent that's going to be able to separate Ohio State. I've said this before. But the thing is, it's not – you can definitely see the talent, the fact that it definitely took its place. But it wasn't like a Oklahoma versus Bama type, basically beating. There's some there's some moments of life that was life of beating. And mind you, they lost to a nobody team. And guess what Indiana is, by SEC comparison, a nobody team. So technically they would beat a good SEC team. So I'm just kind of using that variation of if you want to bring in the SEC into this conversation.
Yeah, and I mean, I like here you go. I hear what you say. I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
I just think that, I think that it like it's all in how you look at it, and it's all in like if you want to play the what ifs and like, hey, if they hadn't muffed that punt, would they have intercepted the next pass and run it back for a touchdown? Sure, maybe, probably not, because the rest of the game doesn't kind of dictate, or the rest of the game would not make you assume that. But
the better talented team, I feel like, won, like for sure. I don't think they invested too much in coaching, but I just think it was just the raw talent. Now, the defense play call for Ohio State, the fact that he pressed like, hey, the blitz is working, we're not going to let this go. From early on, I gave him 100% credit.
And that's I think one of the biggest changes they made is early on in the game they weren't blitzing as much, and they were getting those chunk first down 6-yard runs, and all of a sudden it's a short second, and they were getting those pretty consistently. As soon as they started just going, okay, let's just go after them. There's nothing that they could do. So it was a fun game to watch, and just looking forward to this next week.
Yep, that's fair. Dennis, what was your game? Which game?
My game was actually Arizona State versus BYU.
Oh, it turned out to be a pretty interesting game.
It was, and I was actually kind of surprised the way it kind of ended. Multiple
all
reasons.
The terrible clock management on both sides.
Even the refs as well. So all three sides. But the first half of the game, or like you literally thought, oh, Arizona State literally is just going to run away with this, no problem at all, like no hiccups. Finishing the third quarter, you're just like, oh crap, we actually have a ball game. This is going to go down to the very last second, or last 59 minutes, 59 seconds, 13-minute break, and then one more second to go. So the fact that it actually came back, I was kind of impressed that BYU was able to actually kind of come back. But my call, I think Arizona State kind of win it. Scatabo, I think, played a great game.
He played really good.
He was a great player in the game as well. He's a great security guard trying to usher the Sun Devil fans outside off the field too as well.
Right.
So, but no, I mean, I feel like it kind of shows the fact that what kind of team Arizona State is. And honestly, I still believe that they have a very strong chance of kind of winning the Big 12 if the Big 12 is actually able to get a team.
Yeah.
I mean, technically speaking, aren't they supposed to get an auto bid? You win your championship, you're supposed to get an auto bid.
I mean, not technically. I mean, the highest ranked team technically is supposed to win, not the Power 4 teams.
Huh?
It's supposed to be the highest 5 conference teams, ranked teams win, not the Power 4 teams.
No, the conferences.
No, Power 4 conferences get an automatic bid for their champions.
Then, literally everyone is saying something else differently then.
Well,
media, AP, everything is saying entirely different, opposite.
Yeah, the only people I've heard that from are Twitter people. They
said it in the college football rankings when they announced them.
But we talked about this. We talked about this a while back when we said it would be interesting that a 7th ranked team would be the number 4 in there because of the conference standings. So the conference. I think conference winners get the bid.
Because the way that's being,
I know. The issue is that people are like, it's not a guaranteed bid. It's not a guaranteed bid. And it's it's an automatic bid, so it's basically a guaranteed bid. People are too busy getting so butthurt about terminology that they're not paying attention to what the actual rules are. And the CFP committee has said that the Power 4 conferences all get their champions all get 1 through 4.
Well, I mean, I'm just repeating what they said when they were.
I know you are. I'm just saying, even ESPN has been wrong on this, because ESPN's analysts are, they tend to smoke or smell their own farts from a time, a day in and day out basis.
Everybody likes their own brand.
I mean, that's true.
Not when I get my mom's food. I go back home.
Well, then that's a combination of your mom's and your brand.
I mean, I'm happy. Don't get me wrong, but it's more things like, Dad, I'm glad I'm outside.
Right. Yeah. Then my game of the week was a good old was it Florida that I picked? Florida and Ole Miss? What?
I'm pretty sure you picked an upset on that one, didn't you?
I did. I'm pretty sure I picked Florida to win.
Were you wanted
to win
do the chop as well?
Huh?
Were you doing the chop, Michael?
No, I didn't do that, but I did text my family, and I was just like, man, it is so weird to be like appreciative of the Gators right now. And even my sister was just like, yeah, this is such a strange feeling. I just don't understand it. But there were a ton of Tennessee fans at their game on Saturday doing the Gators chop after they found out that Florida won, because I mean it helped Tennessee significantly in the playoff standings. But Ole Miss, I mean, just looked atrocious. They looked so bad. Florida looked just like what I thought they would. I mean, it is clear that Florida is one of those teams that when they have players on the field that the team themselves really trusts, they look like a very different team. Like this is arguably, like I 100% believe DJ Lagway doesn't go out against Georgia. Georgia loses to Florida. I also believe that it would be I'm not saying that they would have won, but it would have been a far closer game if Florida.
They're just a completely different team when he's on the field, regardless of like how his stats look. They're just a different team.
Every player, including the defense, looks different because they're like, no, the defense is like, no, we got this. We'll take care of it because I know our offense can do something. And
I never heard him say that.
I could tell. Cormani McLean was saying it.
Michael still speaks Florida. He was born in Florida.
I can see their heart. I can see Billy Napier going, "Come on, guys! You know,
come on,
yeah,
do it for me,
Lagway, not me. I'm about to get fired."
There's no way they should fire him.
No, not anymore.
Yeah.
Now, if he goes and beats up on FSU, which he should this weekend, arguably, I say run the score up as much as you can. One, it's a rival, it's an in-state rival, but then two, just make it look good.
I do want to ask, did you see about this person like on Twitter? I forget which hashtag it is and everything, but he's a Tennessee fan, and he said he would get a tattoo of Billy Napier's face if FSU basically ends up beating it. Not FSU, but Florida beating FSU because they beat LSU as well and Ole Miss. So there's been people saying like, hey, if he doesn't tattoo Billy Napier face on his leg or something, is Tennessee going to get the curse that FSU had suffered?
Well, I mean,
I don't know, but was it really a curse when the guy finally did it and they still lost?
No, he didn't do it.
Did he not?
He faked it.
Yeah.
Oh, he faked it?
Oh, he faked it. Okay.
He faked it. He actually said it like a day later that he actually faked it.
I'll put it this way. So here's the thing. Tennessee fans actually love Billy Napier because he gives us a really good chance of beating Florida. And so we're fine with Billy Napier. I'm pretty sure this Vols fan probably would still do it just because he's like, you know what? He was the best Florida fan.
I would hope he does
we've never had.
Because the way that this season is playing out, the way this season has gone, you don't want any kind of like weird universal karmic justice kind of happening where like, well, he didn't do it.
Oh, it's okay. The NCAA already hates Tennessee. I don't care. Yeah. I mean, they already show that all the time. So I'm not worried about that. Karmic justice. What cosmic justice karma. Karmic. That's not even a word.
It's like Karnak, wasn't that the guy?
Karnak justice. Anyway, so that brings us to the wonderful, wonderful other things that happened this weekend. We had Oklahoma just decide to trounce Alabama. Alabama just, I guess, decided not to show up.
It's what happens when you send inappropriate pictures to coaches' daughters.
Hey, fair enough. Well, the other thing is, the thing is, what Oklahoma did was they were just like, you know what worked against Alabama? What Vanderbilt did. Let's just do what Vanderbilt did, and so they did it. Because there's one thing. That's the thing is, Oklahoma, it has a roster filled with 5 stars. They're incredibly. They're good in the blue chip ratio. The problem is that they got a coaching issue / some of their players, a lot of their players are pretty young. So it's like
can't stay on the field.
Well, they've also got a lot of receivers that are just hurt. So yeah,
they can't stay on the field for a whole different reason, but they can't.
Whole different reason. Yeah. But so it's just, I'm like, all they had to do was just go, you know what?
Like,
Vandy always did they did an easy run game, pitch and catch, all that stuff.
This is always an interesting time of the year because when you get these kind of games, you've got Alabama who is kind of on pins and needles going, okay, we've got 2 losses. We need this win. And you've got Oklahoma going, whatever. Like, this is our season. This is, who we are now. Let's just go out there and let's just play.
Let's try to
finish a strong
note.
There's a lot of and there's just a lot of I feel like I just got really white. But they just have a lot more they're a lot more loose, they're a lot more, they're not there's not as much pressure on Oklahoma at this point. So this is the time when these upsets happen, I think, a little more frequently, which this year I can't even really say that because it feels like every week there were games that you're just going, how did that happen? So but it doesn't surprise me that much, and I kind of like it a lot.
Well, I was just going to say, the thing that's interesting to me is that we just got the CFB rankings for this week. Again, Alabama lost by 21 points at Oklahoma, which we've been told is such an easy place to play by Alabama fans. Tennessee fans have been told that by Alabama fans all year. But then
how many points did Tennessee have?
Oh, did we lose by? We lost by 0 points.
That's right. Because
we won by
that
10.
game.
We won by 3 points though in the first half or something like that, right?
Huh?
You guys had 3 points in the first half, right, or something like that?
No, we had 20 points in the first half. We just did nothing.
The second half.
The second half.
Okay.
Didn't do anything.
I'm so used to Tennessee being more of a second half team that I'm like, which way?
That was the turning point game. That was the game where we were like, you know what? Let's just only show up for half a game. But the other thing is, what's interesting is that Bama dropped 6 spots, but then Texas A&M, who lost only by 2 points, dropped 5 spots. I'm like, what? Why? They both have 3 losses. Arguably, if you put them on a neutral field right now, I'd picking Texas A&M every single day over Alabama.
And let's be real, Penn State's still 4.
Yeah, which makes no sense.
He's like, I know we're not talking about them, but let me throw that.
No, that's a legitimate shade.
No, you're not wrong. I just it's funny how the subject we were talking about. It's just let me throw them there.
Well, no, it's just we're talking about teams that it's like how and there's Penn State sitting at 4, and I know they're 10-1, but they
won by 1 point against an unranked Minnesota team.
Against and Indiana, who loses to the number 2 team, albeit by a lot, drops where they're at 10, spots. So they drop 5 spots. Just as kind of it's inconsistent is the best word I can use to describe it. Where you're just going, I don't understand the logic here.
The way they stacked them, though. I get it when it comes to first it was it's Bama, then Ole Miss, then South Carolina, because that's how basically their one-on-one records kind of went.
Right.
But it's just the fact that you have 3 teams that all have 3 losses, and I feel like out of those 3, South Carolina is the best team.
Sure.
To be honest. So it's I get it. South Carolina lost to both those teams. But
no, South Carolina beat Texas A&M.
Yep.
Well, I mean I was talking about Ole Miss because it's Bama, Ole Miss, and then South Carolina.
Okay, I got you.
In the playoff rankings, so it's I get it why those teams are ahead of South Carolina, but at the same time, I feel like the way South Carolina's been playing, the way they've been winning, and the couple times they did lose, it wasn't a blowout loss, or at least maybe they'll miss one of us. But I feel like they're a much better team at this time of the season.
They're more consistent than Ole Miss, but they're still like an Ole Miss.
Yeah,
that's the thing. They get
South Carolina though in there because they seem like they have played more or less I feel like they have earned it more, and I hate it because I don't want a 3-team.
No, I understand.
But if I was gonna pick one, I'm I guess South Carolina would be it.
So here's the question that I have. So I've been seeing this a lot, and mostly it's FSU fans. So Quinn Ewers there's some questions about whether or not he's going to be finishing the season, and so. Obviously, with what happened last year with FSU, a lot of people are doing the whole oh yeah, I know how this works out. So Texas is out, right? Their quarterback's out. So I want to know, I've got my opinion, and I'll just go ahead and tell you kind of where I stand with it, and I want to see what you guys think.
Nobody cares. Go ahead, Michael. I mean, it's fair. Ohio State doesn't have like any, like, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying. So the way that I see it is one different scenario. You've got 12-team playoff.
Sure.
So even if you want to drop them down because
got 8 more
of it,
spots. Yep.
And 2, who was Jordan Travis's? That was his name? Jordan Travis. Who was his backup quarterback last year?
I think it was like a true freshman.
Brock
or something. Yeah, it was like something Brock. I think it was like a true freshman too.
Who's Texas's backup quarterback?
Oh, we know. Yeah.
Exactly. So like
named Archie.
Yeah, it's like Peyton.
He's one of the Mannings.
So all that to say, like the difference is one, you have more teams in the playoff, and 2, you have a known commodity. Even if you don't know how he's going to play, getting a Manning in there is going to be good for ratings and money and all that stuff.
Like you're not wrong, but we have actually also seen Manning play.
Yeah,
the fact that
he's had good production
doesn't really slow down all that much in the offensive wise when he's in, compared to when Travis went down last year and Florida State had 2 games without him. It was completely night and day difference team. Like Florida State had no offense compared to like FSU now. Like it was like, cool, we're playing the same exact offense. While Texas, again, you put Manning in, and it's like they may lose like half a step, if any.
Maybe.
Let's say arguments to be made that they actually were better under
it could be
Manning for a little bit.
So that's what I'm like. He's shown that. So personally, I think like when it comes to that specific team, that specific scenario, no, you can't even knock him down a spot.
Yeah. No, that's what I agree. The arguably where Manning is right now is not on par with Jordan Travis last year, but close.
Yeah.
Like, let's just be real. He has spent already a year under Sark, and he had Quinn Ewers to basically help train him all last year. So he had a Jordan Travis type quarterback helping him learn. And so every time he's hit the field this year, he's been pretty consistent for a sophomore. And then on top of that, not only that, he also he's got such a higher ceiling than a Jordan Travis or even Quinn Ewers. So I think.
But what about Florida State's backup quarterback from last year?
He's better than I'll
put it this way: Texas's kicker Auburn has a higher ceiling to be a better quarterback than FSU's quarterback from last year. Their backup from last year. If this year has proven anything, they have no depth at the quarterback room at all.
The quarterback, I don't know if you guys got to see this, but there's a quarterback from like Southern Illinois who was like a retro, like that guy who only played 1 game has more skill than I'm saying.
Sure.
Like, a graduate assistant.
I've only seen one worse quarterback this year, and that's Temple's quarterback. I like that guy looks like he's playing middle school
worse.
Football.
I don't know if where Iowa's quarterback.
I like how you said Temple. They're the Temple Owls, and you went, who's worse?
Who's worse?
Is Iowa's quarterback from last year? I don't know where he transferred to. Worse than those guys?
That guy I don't even think is playing football anymore.
DJU was able to get a job. Why not him?
He's going like this.
DJU, if DJU could throw about 50 to 60% accuracy, Iowa's old quarterback
only a yard away from him.
I understand that, but Iowa's quarterback last year was like 10% accuracy. I mean, he didn't know where he was throwing. He was throwing directly to CBs. I mean, I don't know. He couldn't run the ball. He was just big and clunky. It's the best way I can describe an Iowa quarterback. Big and clunky.
Big and clunky.
Not clucky. Big and clunky.
I said clunky.
Yeah, sure.
Hungry. Just leave alone.
I am.
It seems like he has an 8.
But I mean, other things, yeah. So question for you, Luke. Do you think that part of I think that there's both SEC and Big Ten bias in the CFP committee. I think that there's more Big Ten bias only because it's headed up by a Michigan AD. But do you think that to some degree they're keeping Penn State ranked higher to potentially prop up Ohio State's win over them? Like make Ohio, like, sure, I'm not saying Ohio State needs it. I'm just saying.
Honestly, like I don't know what is going on. Like it's very strange. I mean, I think we go back to the conversation I think we had last week when we talked about how the top of the Big Ten or the Big Ten is top heavy. You've got like 4 teams that were kind of the teams that the Big Ten had, whereas the SEC, you've kind of got like the top 4. And then you've got like the next group that's still good. They're not, there's not a
6 to 8 that could cause problems.
Sure. And so I think there's part of this. Part of it may be that they're trying to prop them up, but I think part of it is also we talk about the big 2 conferences, and we say you've got the Big Ten and you've got the SEC, and then everybody else is kind of like whatever. If you want to maintain that, you kind of have to make sure that the Big Ten looks like they're part of the Big 2 and not kind of in the same realms as the Big 12 and the ACC, where you've got a few big dogs and then some chihuahuas running around. And that may be, that may be the thing. I like Penn State, I think, not when we play them, but I like Penn State as a team and a program. I don't see them as a 4. I can go down the top 10.
See them as a 7 or an 8. I don't like.
I could see them as a 7 or 8, but a 4, no.
I think what kind of generally helps them out is like when they lost to Ohio State, that was the only thing that can technically knock them down.
Mm-hmm.
And like you can't really, and the amount of losses the other teams like below them or even around them in the top 10.
Yeah.
Like when is the top? I don't know if we've had a week where the top 10 was the same as the previous week.
That's true. Yeah.
So it's like you can fault them for the team as they are, but if they keep winning, it's like you can't knock them down either.
Yeah.
So it's like, so there's only one way to go. Either you stay the same or you keep move up. Like there's teams obviously jumping them, but it's just like,
well, I mean,
like you're there because like you just got lucky on when you lost, and that's it.
And I think has a lot to do with the rankings just in general, is kind of when you lose. Which again, that's been one of the things for years and years that the Big Ten has always said is, the SEC cannibalizes themselves in the first, half, the first, 75% of the season, and then they play cupcakes for the end. Whereas the Big Ten usually plays the cupcakes at the beginning, and then at the end of the year, that's when they're playing, the rivalry games, the Penn State, Ohio State, the Ohio State, Michigans. And so, it's kind of, again, when you play them, and they've always said, oh, that doesn't really matter. It's all about the teams that you play, but it does. And, also with, kind of keeping on the Penn State thing, again, their only loss is to Ohio State, who has gone out and done what they've done. And, again, whether you want to say that the win against Penn State was a, good win, the win against Indiana was a good win. Whether or not you want to say it, they're they're ranked number 2, and Penn State only lost to the number 2 team.
It definitely helps where like Ohio State's always been one of the natty favorites too from the very beginning. So it's like to say your only losses to them by only a touchdown.
Right.
It's like you can see in the game tape, like, they're not necessarily a top 5 team, but it's like, as Luke was saying, like you can't really like
you can't knock them for it.
Like
yeah. I mean, it's one of those things that it's the frustrating thing for me is like if you look at their schedule based upon, and again, this isn't their fault. They scheduled what they thought was going to potentially be a competitive schedule.
Mm-hmm.
But Washington fell off hard. You had USC fall off arguably even harder.
I don't know if you can say going from a national championship to.
No, I mean, you're going to see the playoff contender to like. What the hell happened?
Everyone was expecting Washington to fall off. We weren't expecting USC to fall off
in the same exact season.
Yeah. So
I got you. Okay.
Washington had a ton of turnover. They had a coach that left and is burning down a program. I love it. So it's just like there's that going on. USC had basically no turnover from a standpoint of like they lost certain players. They lost certain key players, but they still had a lot of talent positions. They actually brought in a better DC, stuff like that.
But they kept Lincoln Riley. and his.
I understand. I get it. I get that Lincoln Riley and his brother probably shouldn't be coaching football anywhere.
Yeah.
And because
he ain't going anywhere anytime soon.
Probably
what is
not.
It, like a 90 million. He's got like a $90 million buyout. Like,
sure.
Like it's been rumored. Nobody's gonna know because it's a private school. So it's like it probably could be a whole lot more. Like no one knows.
Sure. But I mean, like at the end of the day, the thing is the only other team that they've played that Penn State has played this year that looks decent on their resume, just playing them, is Illinois, and Illinois has fallen off pretty hard. And so it's just like, I mean, again, they're still ranked. Why? I don't really understand. They're not doing phenomenal.
Illinois is not a bad team, but they're definitely not.
They're kind of like a Missouri.
Yeah, well,
I would take Illinois
this year. Yeah, Missouri this year for sure.
I'll take Illinois to be a little bit better team than Missouri, but not by much.
If Missouri and Illinois played each other, I'd pick Illinois because they at least they're not as injured as Missouri is right now.
I'm just meaning from the standpoint of why are they ranked?
Oh no,
no, I agree. I think that Missouri's ranked to prop up Alabama, and I think Illinois is ranked to prop up Penn State.
Yeah,
like I think that's why they're ranked. It's the same reason why you saw Army and Navy get ranked right before Notre Dame plays them. So that Notre Dame supposedly has a ranked win, or maybe they don't. I don't know. People are so divided by this issue.
Yeah, we should decide that once and for all.
I think if you play the team as they're ranked, when they're ranked, you get a ranked win. And the reason being is because it shouldn't be on the team that won. The team that won shouldn't be penalized
for it
because the other team ended up sucking. That's not like it's not Georgia Tech's fault that FSU turned out to be a flop this year.
Right.
Like it's definitely
BC or
let's
go down the list.
Well, it was just really BC and Georgia Tech that played a top 10 team, and then they dropped heavily out of the top 25.
It's like a rock in a river, man.
They're probably 130th right now. But yeah, I don't think it's fair for teams that are. People are like, well, preseason rankings shouldn't mean anything. I was like, I agree with that. I don't think that there should be a ranking until after the first week. So people can see there's not a bias going towards a team like arguably the reason why Bama has stayed as high as they have been is because they started a top 4 team in the country. And it's just like, and it's taken them a long time to start falling down the chain.
And I would go a step further, not just one game. I would say 2 or 3.
Sure.
Just because, let's pretend that FSU didn't lose everything this year. They have a bad, they have a loss at the beginning. It gives them a chance to kind of redeem themselves. And
here's the caveat that I'll give. So if you're going to say let's wait till middle of September to rank teams to put out a top 25. If your team happens to beat one of those teams that ends up being ranked in the top 25, that also counts as a win, as a ranked win, even if they weren't ranked at that point. Like it's just like it needs to be both and. It doesn't need to be
either or.
It feels weird because I'm like people are like, oh yeah, Notre Dame's got a ranked win over Louisville, but Louisville then drops out. They're like, now we don't have a ranked win, but now they do because Louisville's back in, and now they're out. Oh no!
Just another reason why we need computers again.
No, I agree. I think that there's the metrics that are being weighed are not being weighed at a
whatsoever.
Well, yeah, if literally everything ranking wise and whatnot was determined by strength of schedule, strength of resume, all the other factors that have to do with that are the reasons why Vegas votes the way they do and they bet the way they do and stuff like that. If there was all those metrics plus blue chip ratio and all that stuff, weighed in, and the committee's job is just to make sure the computer does its job. And by committee, I mean, it's like 3 guys to make sure that the other 2 guys aren't cheating.
I know 3 guys that'll do that.
Hey, see, look at that. Hey, yeah. So our application to Josh Pate when he becomes the commissioner of college football is that we become the playoff committee, and our job is just to create an algorithm that handles all the analytics and then we tell ESPN FBI to kick the curb.
There's no bias anywhere.
I don't care if you
There
have
will be no bias because it's a computer.
The statistics don't care. The statistics don't care about the bias. And that's the thing is like it. And so I think having a mixture of a power ranking versus an actual a power rating and an actual ranking is the way to go. And a CFP committee that's run by an AD of a shamed organization right now that's under investigation by the NCAA, won't matter. So just saying.
I feel like the coaches poll once was, right? It once was. I feel like now it's definitely fallen off, but like it once was like, hey, these are the people themselves that are actually in the game.
Except now the coaches play that game and are just like, well, I really do think that we're the best team out there.
And they're playing basically like, hey, well, I got to vote another team in my conference to make my. It's just like I remember before, like just growing up and I was watching, like, no, coaches actually would pick like some random teams. Like, no, this team's actually been playing really well. Yeah, they haven't played the greatest teams, but if you see that, like, if you see the game tape, you can see that they're a good team.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's basically been gone and disappeared.
Well, let's go ahead and move on to our game of the week for Rivalry Week. Yeah. Woo! Talking about the 80 of Michigan. Luke, you want to go?
I feel like Luke's game is the most unimportant but important game.
It's week. The most important to him.
Well, no, I mean, it's important for so many reasons.
I get
so
it.
Important
I
too.
Get it.
Yeah.
I get it. I feel like it's one of the most lopsided of all the games that we're picking.
Oh, I don't know. So obviously I'm picking Ohio State, Michigan.
Oh, I thought you were picking somebody else. Never mind.
Tennessee, Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
That should be if it plays out right.
Yeah, we'll see. But so this I honestly, as the superstitious, I'm not superstitious, I'm just a little stitious. But I hate this matchup predictor. I hate the fact that what are we favored by 21 plus 21?
Hey, look at the right side, Luke. It's
that's
bigger
more
than
your
two
touchdowns.
It is bigger than my 2 touchdown prediction this past offseason. So I hate seeing this. I mean, obviously this is done for a reason. I do think that Ohio State wins. I think that, it's at home. It's 3 years in the making, kind of us ready to win. And then you just look at Michigan's down, and there's no real other way to say it. They are down, and Ohio State is just playing really well right now. I'm sticking with my 2 touchdown, just because I look at that 21, and I think throughout the season, when you look at the 2 teams, if I was outside of the rivalry and Ohio State wasn't my team, I probably would think around that 21, that 3 touchdown lead. But I also know how this rivalry goes. I know that these are the years that can be very scary, years that, you have a team that's a national championship contender and one that's not having a great year. These are the years that stuff happens.
Sure.
So I still think that I'm going to say 2 touchdowns. I'll kind of keep with my off-season trend. But it has been kind of funny. One of the things I've been seeing in the Twitterverse is a lot of Michigan fans saying, oh yeah, of course Ohio State's going to brag about beating the 6-5 Michigan team. They finally do it after 4 years. And it's like, you're forgetting to mention the fact that we beat you 8 years in a row. You're forgetting to mention all that,
and the fact that you guys cheated for 4 years. That's the other reason you won.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not even going to stop until, I mean, allegedly, but like I mean, I'm more confident on this cheating thing than you are. I think at this point,
I think you are. And I will say, with the whole scandal stuff, I've just kind of resigned to the fact of I'm going to wait till it comes out.
Sure.
Like at this point, we've made it through a season. It's exactly what we all have said that it was going to happen. We're going to get through this season. Nothing's going to happen. The release date for the NOA, I think, is tomorrow. But there was extensions filed and all kinds of stuff. So, which is really weird considering I think National Signing Day is like the 6th or 5th of December. So it's interesting time. But all that to say, not that I'm not confident, not that I don't, I'm just kind of like, I'm going to wait till stuff comes out.
Well, and like when you're looking at stats like this, where you're like, oh yeah, 92% chance to win, like that's just rat poison.
Yeah.
That's all that is.
Yep.
And so what you can just hope is that your team is not watching any of this and just doesn't care. They're just like, no.
And from what I've seen, that's exactly what they're doing. The interviews that I've seen, they've all just kind of been like, hey, you know what? We beat Indiana. It's on next week's the important one. Sure. So hopefully they're dialed in. We'll see.
Yep. I mean,
you can't trust these ugly games. So
no, exactly. You can't trust.
Yeah. I hope that Ryan Day locks onto Michigan's throat and doesn't let go the entire game.
I feel like if any game he's gonna like be just entirely ruthless, this one would make sense on so many levels.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, if like arguably, so this is just me personally. Like if I was Ryan Day, I would be making sure my team had more, chutzpah in this game. Even if it meant that going into the Big Ten championship, they were a little more gassed and probably may lose that game. Because that game, you're still getting into the playoffs. So it's like,
at that point, it's seeding. That's all. That's all the Big Ten is. The Big Ten championship game would be with seeding.
Which sounds like they would get the 5th seed, which is actually like the best seed that you can get.
If you're not going to get a bye, and honestly, I don't want to buy. I would not want to buy. I want to play, and so getting the number 5 is perfect. You play a home game.
There's a lot of momentum right now
against like Iowa State.
Keep that, you got to keep that momentum.
Yep.
So, anyways, Dennis, what you got?
My game actually has quite a bit on the line, and I actually have South Carolina versus Clemson as my game.
South Carolina versus Clemson. Okay.
Now, I'm a little bit like tossed between it because although I would want South Carolina to win, I'm still very much against a 3-team making it into the playoffs.
Sure.
Like, they would be my team to pick if they were a 3-team, but I genuinely feel because it's an at Clemson game as well, Clemson is going to be the one to kind of get in there, kind of sweep by. And this is going to be the game that Clemson would need, not to make it to the ACC championship, but definitely be able to make it into the playoffs. Because at the end of the day, where South Carolina is and where they're ranked, I feel like this could kind of jump them in to be, hey, like they're already number 12, but jump one team more over just to be like, hey, well, we beat a ranked team that was actually really high in terms of making the playoffs as well and has a lot of backing. And we're the ACC that beat an SEC team. Like, they're going to have so many bragging rights above that they can be like, hey, we got to jump an SEC team then. Like, you got to leave one out to keep us in.
Yeah. Totally. I like the thing is, I mean, I agree with you. I when it comes to like the playoff stuff, with Clemson, and South Carolina, it's interesting how this game is going to really kind of lay at least to some degree, it's really going to lay the playoff race for the ACC.
I feel like even though South Carolina is to win, this could be the game that gets them into the playoffs.
Possibly,
potentially. It just depends on
how they win it.
It depends on how much disruptive, like what happens in the top 10. I don't even think the top 12 will get you that kind of. And I will say there will be the other disruption that could happen is if Alabama loses to Auburn this week, then you've got an even better opportunity for South Carolina to not only jump ahead of Alabama, but if South Carolina wins, then I mean they've arguably got a better resume than a lot of teams
if South Carolina wins though, and if Bama just happens to win versus Auburn, I still feel South Carolina should jump Bama because for one, they're playing a ranked team, they're playing a good team. They're not playing an Auburn team.
I understand
that is not going to even make it to a bowl probably this year.
Well, if Auburn wins this Saturday,
they would.
Yeah,
but like if they hypothetically if they were to lose, like I'm like, dude, like you're playing barely a 500 team. Yeah, you normally lose versus these kind of teams, but you're still playing.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. Vandy's not a sub 500 team anymore.
Or they're circling a 500 team, I should say. The team that circles 500 is Bama's.
Yep. And I mean, and to Christopher's point, like they're also playing at Alabama, whereas the Gamecocks are going to Clemson. So
I've seen a record where though, like Bama hasn't had a whole lot of luck, like even at their own stadium when Auburn comes in recent history.
It doesn't matter. Like Auburn is a spook game for
many reasons
for Alabama, and it's the Iron Bowl. There's a reason for that. I think unless other 11-1 teams lose before the conference championship, I don't see any 3-loss teams making it in. Period. And to be clear, I want Auburn to win this weekend because I want to make sure they put an end to Alabama's schedule and Alabama's season because it would be glorious. Go ahead.
Sorry.
I was just going to say, Bama gets to go to the Citrus Bowl.
Yeah, and that would be the beautiful thing to me is because it's the final nail in the coffin for all those Alabama fans who are like, no, there's still hope. We're Alabama. There's still hope. It's like, no, you just lost to Auburn. So that is and yes, if Bama does make it in, even at this point, it 100% is rigged.
Yeah,
so
that's what at least it feels like.
It's what it feels like. But we've already had our conversations about this weird CFP committee. Again, put the final nail in. Auburn, just go out there, Hugh Freeze, get your players some
and
escorts or whatever you normally do with whatever he does, and
put a more deserving team that may potentially be a 9-3 like a South Carolina in a better spot to make a playoff bid. Again, I don't think they will, just because it's going to be hard for a lot of other teams are going to have to lose ahead of them.
Yeah. You know what? Just put Vandy in, just because.
I mean, sure. It depends on what happens this weekend.
Even Florida at this point.
The
Flagway's healthy. I'm okay with Florida or Vandy.
So the game that I've picked has zero consequences to the CFP. I'm just kidding. No, it has a ton of consequences too. Oh man, Christopher is really upset with he's happy that BYU is out of the CFP. Okay, all right. I mean that's fair. But I've got Texas versus A&M. Ooh.
I'm not gonna lie. I thought you were gonna pick Tennessee and Vanderbilt for custody of Bama.
No,
I honestly the two Tennessee teams are playing. Custody,
that's fair.
Whoever wins this game gets to call Bama their.
My pocket.
That's why you don't like BYU is because they're frauds. I mean, I get it. They had a lot of luck all season long. Granted, they're also playing in arguably the weakest conference, weakest power conference. Chris is going to the Vandy game. Woo, that's gonna be fun. That's gonna be.
You mean the UT game?
Yeah, he's going to the Vandy. He's going to Vandy, so he's going to the Vandy game.
Gotcha.
He'll be dressed in.
When you think it's a game in Tennessee, you can't just think Bowls now. You have to be like, oh, we have Vandy's.
You'll be dressed in your attire so you can go pick up trash on the side of the road after the game.
The thing is with the Vandy Tennessee game, and I'll get to my game of the week here in a second. Even with the Vandy Tennessee game, there'll still be more Tennessee fans at that game than Vandy. Yeah. Even though Vandy has done a really good job filling their stadium with their fans this year, this game is not
like 35% now.
Does whoever wins is whoever wins? Are they going to carry the goalpost down to the Cumberland?
No.
And then Bowls player would be like, make clear.
Neither one of those teams care enough about each other as a rival to rub that one in the face. You know what I mean? But anyways, a team that probably would tear down the goalpost would be A&M if they beat Texas.
They've got the money to do it.
Would it surprise you to know that Texas has played 0 away games at night this year?
No.
I think you can say the same thing for Ohio State.
Because we've been holding down the big noon.
A little different.
I'm sorry. I just answered those with such an easy shot.
We've been holding down that big noon, man.
It's big noon kickoff is a little different. So, but the thing is interesting is that one, Texas A&M has played plenty of night games.
Mm-hmm.
The only other night game, like official big night game that Texas has played this year, they lost to Georgia at home. And I'm going to be real, like they're not, I don't think they're ready. I don't think their offense is ready to walk into a stadium filled with 104,000 screaming Aggie fans to disrupt them every single play.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you right now, A&M is in wounded animal mode. They are going to come out swinging. I 100% think that their loss to Auburn was a look because it was a look pass game, and they're like, oh yeah, we'll be fine. It's just Auburn. And then they, you can't do that to Auburn because Auburn's like Vanderbilt. They'll shoot you in the back. And they find ways.
Will save you afterwards. They don't just leave you.
Well, yeah, they wound you and then save you. And
Chris, to your point, well, you'll have to go back and listen because we talked about a little bit about the ranked when they ranked, and that ranked win should be something that is all year.
I think Chris, you agree with us. You would agree with us on our stance on it. But yes, you're correct. Technically speaking, according to the CFP, there's only one ranked win.
The all-wise CFP.
Yeah, exactly. The thing is, by personal opinion, I'm actually picking Texas A&M to win this game. And I don't think they're gonna blow them out of the water or anything like that. I think it's gonna be a pretty close game. It's gonna be competitive because the Longhorns are probably the best team they've played all year. Mm-hmm. And Texas A&M is down their leading rusher, unfortunately. So that does hurt them quite a bit. But there's just something like I think a lot of Texas fans have been just overlooking this game and thinking we're already a lock for the SEC championship. It's all good. If we had to play Georgia again, we'll beat them on a neutral site. It's like you didn't beat them at home.
Right.
I'm also kind of curious.
That's because it wasn't neutral.
Yeah.
I'm also kind of curious, how much effort would Texas try to do as well? Because as long as they don't get blown out, technically, I feel like they'll still make it to the college football playoffs because where they're at. And so it's do they want to play to their full potential and potentially hurt players?
Yeah.
So it's I feel hey, it's cool as long as we're competitive and we may lose a spot in getting a bye, but we're still in it, keeping our players healthy.
The thing is,
yes, Chris, yours is hurt.
It's expected that it's going to be a game time decision. We don't he has gone into a couple different protocols, and one of them was an MRI and some other stuff. So yes, we don't know what's going to happen. We talked about this earlier. I don't think that plays too much into this game, aside from Manning not being ready in such a hostile environment.
Which
being young and being in a hostile environment. The Manning genes just have that cool
if he's able to play Eli Manning in a hostile environment, he's fine. If he's gonna play Peyton Manning, it might be some trouble there.
Sure.
Eli Manning typically does better in a hostile environment.
What about Archie? What if he plays like Archie?
Then he's gonna lose. Archie almost never won.
So here's my other reasons for why I think A&M is going to come out swinging is because of the fact that not only are they in wounded animal mode because they lost last week, but now their playoff hopes are on the line. And what I mean by that is we were just talking about a 3-loss team making the playoffs. Well, if they win here, they go to the SEC championship. That's the other thing. They're only 2 losses. They only have 2 losses in the SEC. So if they win this game, Texas will lose the tiebreaker to Texas A&M, which means Texas A&M goes to the SEC championship. If Texas A&M wins the SEC championship, which they very easily could, because Georgia's not normal Georgia, if they win the SEC championship, they've got a automatic bid into the CFP, and so they have a vested interest in making sure they win out. Whereas Texas doesn't care because they're in regardless. And my personal thing is, what I want to see happen is if Texas loses Tennessee better be hopping Texas. I'm sorry. Like Tennessee has at least a better win on their schedule, if not multiple better wins on their schedule, and than Texas. And I get like Texas is like, well, we beat Florida by 40 points. It's like, yeah, you beat a QB from Yale by 40 points. Like I'm
our guy.
Yeah. And unfortunately, Arkansas played Tennessee like it was their Super Bowl, so they've been injured all year after that game. So it's one of those things like I think that there's something there. Texas A&M has a lot more to fight for, and so I think they're going to come out swinging. Elko, I personally think Elko has a higher ceiling than Sark does. So, coach.
Also, I just kind of checked it out right now. If Manning is to play, he has not played in any away games. All the games played in have been home.
Yep.
I didn't know that till just now.
Yep. Texas had had the second easiest schedule in the SEC this year, which is still like, top 50 in the country. Say what you will about SOS.
And that's why the SEC cannibalizes itself.
Yeah, well,
24-21 A&M, says Chris.
It's because Vandy was good. That's why.
That'd be good. Yeah,
Christopher, what are your predictions on the Ohio State-Michigan game?
Yeah, Chris, what do you think? He's gonna be like, I don't care.
Connor Stanley is not on the field or the sidelines.
What about in the earpiece?
At least we don't know the disguise he may have.
Right. Yeah. Well, did you hear? I mean, going back to that 48-7. Oh gosh. OSU. Thank you for clarifying.
I was like, you have to make sure, like, which way.
The head coach for Central Michigan, Central Michigan is the team that Connor Stallions apparently or allegedly had the glasses and the fake. He just retired.
Yeah, retired mid-season.
Retired mid-season. So another cog in the wheel there, but but we'll see.
Totally not something suspicious.
No, suspicion isn't a crime, though.
That's right. Suspicion isn't a crime, but it sure doesn't look good.
Anyway,
I
would like to say though one more thing. I hope one game does happen.
Nope. Well, we'll see you later. It's been fun.
It was almost my game of the week. USC beating Notre Dame.
USC beating Notre Dame. Man, now that you said it, USC is going to lose.
I would actually like that. I don't think that I could make myself cheer for USC or Notre Dame, but I would rather cheer for USC.
There you go.
Third stringers out by the fourth quarter. Okay. Hopefully you're not good at jinxing people.
Well, at least the O-line, he's right about it through the entire time.
Yeah. True. USC is going to be destroyed by Notre Dame. So you're wrong, Dennis. Christopher has spoken. Our analyst
in the chat got it.
Christopher was asked. And
he's good with numbers. I'll give him that.
Well, everybody enjoy this weekend of football in the rivalry weekend that we're about.
And happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. And we will be back. Come back next week. Grab a drink and join that conversation.
Ow.